Ever find yourself completely lost in a task, so absorbed that the world just fades away? You look up, and hours have passed in what felt like minutes. That magical state is called hyper. Now, what if I told you that you could tap into that state on command, unlocking a level of productivity you've only dreamed of? It's not magic, it's science. And it all revolves around a powerful little molecule in your brain, dopamine. Today, we're diving deep into the science of motivation and focus. Inspired by the work of experts like Doris, we'll break down exactly what dopamine is, how it drives your behavior, and most importantly, how you can manage it to achieve sustained, deep focus whenever you need it. By the end of this video, you'll have a practical toolkit to master your motivation and get more done than ever before. So, let's start with the basics. What is dopamine? Many people call it the pleasure molecule, but that's a huge oversimplification. Dopamine is actually the molecule of motivation. It's not about the reward itself. It's about the pursuit of the reward. It's that feeling of, I want that. I need to do that. That gets you off the couch and into action. Think about it like this. Your brain releases a small amount of dopamine when you think about doing something rewarding, like eating your favorite food or finishing a project. That little spike is what motivates you to start. Then, as you get closer to achieving your goal, your brain releases more dopamine, keeping you engaged and pushing forward. The final reward, the actual eating or the project completion, gives you a big dopamine hit, which teaches your brain that the effort was worth it. This system is crucial for survival. It's what drove our ancestors to hunt and gather. Without dopamine, they wouldn't have had the motivation to seek out food or find shelter. In the modern world, it drives us to pursue our careers, learn new skills, and build relationships. So, we have a baseline level of dopamine coursing through our system at all times. This baseline determines our general level of motivation and alertness. Then, there are these peak spikes of dopamine that happen when we anticipate or receive a reward. The problem is, our modern world is a dopamine minefield. Think about your smartphone. Every notification, every new email is a tiny potential reward. Each one gives you a small, quick dopamine spike. It feels good for a second, but what's the long-term effect? These frequent, easy spikes can actually lower your overall dopamine baseline. Imagine a seesaw. Your baseline dopamine is the center point. Every time you get a big, easy spike from checking your phone or eating junk food, the seesaw tips way up. To balance itself out, your brain has to push the other side down, lowering your baseline. This means that over time, you need more and more stimulation just to feel normal, just to feel motivated to do anything. You start to feel bored, listless, and unmotivated to tackle the things that truly matter, the long-term goals that don't offer instant gratification. This is the dopamine trap, and many of us are stuck in it without even realizing it. So, how do we escape this trap and regain control of our motivation system? The key isn't to get more dopamine, but to manage it smarter. The goal is to raise our baseline level of dopamine, making us feel more consistently motivated and ready for action without relying on those unhealthy spikes. This is where the concept of a dopamine detox comes in. But we can frame it more positively as dopamine fasting, or even better, a dopamine reset. The idea is to intentionally step away from high dopamine, low-effort activities for a period of time. This doesn't mean sitting in a dark room doing nothing. It means choosing to engage in activities that are less stimulating. Instead of scrolling through social media, read a physical book. Instead of watching TV, go for a walk in nature. Instead of ordering takeout, cook a meal from scratch. By doing these, you give your dopamine receptors a chance to reset and become more sensitive again. When you stop bombarding your brain with easy, artificial rewards, your baseline starts to rise back up. After a day or even just a few hours of this, you'll find that normal, everyday activities start to feel more rewarding. The satisfaction you get from completing a challenging task at work will feel much greater because it's not competing with the instant hit from 1,000 notifications. Now, let's connect this back to hyperfocus is the ultimate state of productive engagement. It happens when your brain is fully locked onto a single task, and it feels incredible. This state is deeply tied to your dopamine system. To enter and sustain hyperfocus, you need a healthy, stable dopamine baseline. If your system is constantly seeking the next quick hit, you'll never be able to settle into the deep, prolonged concentration that hyperfocus requires. So, the first step to achieving hyperfocus is to manage your dopamine. But what's the next step? How do you actually trigger that state when you sit down to work? The secret is to engineer your environment and your tasks to work with your brain's natural reward system, not against it. Let's talk about a powerful technique: stacking your dopamine. This is about strategically using dopamine to fuel your focus, not distract from it. Here's how it works. Before you start a difficult or mentally demanding task, you can prime your brain with a small, healthy dose of dopamine. This could be listening to your favorite high-energy song for a few minutes. It could be doing a quick 10-minute workout. It could even be drinking a cup of coffee or tea, as caffeine is known to increase dopamine transmission. The key is that this initial activity is short and gets you energized, but doesn't completely derail you. It's a launchpad, not a distraction. This initial dopamine boost makes it easier to overcome the initial friction of starting a tough task. Once you start, the task itself needs to become the source of dopamine. How do you make a difficult task rewarding in itself? By breaking it down. A huge, daunting project, like write a 20-page report, is not motivating. Your brain looks at that and sees a massive amount of effort for a reward that's far in the future. But what about write the first paragraph or create the outline? These are small, achievable goals. Every time you tick off one of these mini tasks, your brain gives you a small hit of dopamine. This isn't a cheap, artificial spike. It's earned. This is task-related dopamine, and it's the fuel for You're creating a feedback loop where progress itself becomes the reward. You write a paragraph, feel good, and that motivates you to write the next one. You're stringing together these small dopamine peaks to create a sustained wave of motivation that carries you through the entire project. This is fundamentally different from working with constant distractions. When your phone is next to you, you're constantly making a choice. Do I continue with this hard task, or do I check for that easy dopamine hit? Your brain is naturally lazy. It will often choose the path of least resistance. But when you remove the distractions and structure your work into rewarding mini, you make the work itself the most rewarding thing in your environment. Let's summarize this into a practical protocol you can use to induce. Step 1. The setup. This happens before you even think about working. It's about setting your baseline. Practice regular dopamine fasting. Maybe it's 1 day a week. Or maybe it's just the first 2 hours of every morning where you avoid your phone and other high dopamine triggers. This will raise your overall baseline motivation. Step 2. The prime. Right before you begin your deep work session, prime your dopamine system. Listen to an energizing song. Do some jumping jacks. Drink your coffee. Spend 5 to 10 minutes getting your mind and body into a state of readiness and focus. Step 3. The plunge. This is the most critical moment. Eliminate all distractions. Put your phone in another room. Close all unrelated tabs on your computer. Set a clear, specific, and small goal for the first 25 minutes. Not work on the project, but write 250 words or code one function. Step 4. The ride. Once you've started, focused on the process. Every time you complete a small part of the task, take a moment to acknowledge it. This internal good job reinforces the dopamine loop. If you feel your focus waning, don't reach for a distraction. Stand up, stretch for a minute, look out the window, and then get right back to your small, specific goal. You're teaching your brain that focused itself is rewarding. Step 5. The reward. After your focus session, say 90 minutes, it's crucial to reward yourself properly. And by this, I don't mean scrolling through Instagram for 30 minutes. That would undo all the good work you've just done by giving you a huge, cheap dopamine spike. Instead, the reward should be something that doesn't jack up your dopamine in an unhealthy way. Go for a walk, have a healthy snack, chat with a colleague, or just sit and do nothing for a few minutes. This allows your brain to recover and consolidate the work you've just done without crashing your dopamine baseline. By following this protocol, you're not just getting work done. You're fundamentally retraining your brain. You're teaching it to derive satisfaction and motivation from effort and achievement, rather than from passive consumption and instant gratification. This is a skill, and like any skill, it gets stronger with practice. The first few times you try this, it might feel difficult. Your brain will scream for its usual distractions. But if you stick with it, you'll start to notice a profound shift. You'll find it easier to start difficult tasks. You'll be able to focus for longer periods. And most importantly, you'll rediscover the deep, intrinsic joy that comes from losing yourself in a meaningful challenge. This isn't about becoming a productivity robot. It's about reclaiming your focus and attention so you can direct it towards the things that truly matter to you. Whether that's building a business, creating art, learning a new language, or being more present with your family, mastering your dopamine system is the key. So I challenge you to try it. Pick one day this week for a mini dopamine reset. And the next time you have to tackle a big project, try the 5-step hyperfocus protocol. You might be shocked at what you're capable of when you learn to work with your brain instead of against it. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more content on how to master your mind and build a better life. Let me know in the comments what your biggest struggle with focus is. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one.